With all that being said, my question to Senator Booker is this. For the next generation of Americans, for the young people who are tuning in and wondering, well, what is it that I can do? Do I have a voice? Do I have any power? What would you say to them? How can they take action?
I love you for that question, my friend. And I just want to talk about anger, because I've been all over the place. I read these letters and they make me sad. I read these letters, they make me angry. I read these letters, they make me embarrassed that we're a country where people have to rend their pride and beg for help because of the little teeny modicum of support they get from a service like Medicaid. But I've been saying over and over again, as I've tried to learn from my elders, if I've tried to learn from the heroes I revere, that I learned from my parents that anger is not a bad emotion. It's what you do with that emotion that's important. Does it consume you? Does it drive you to hate other people, or do you allow it to fuel you? Because it was ferocious love that had ancestors of all of ours in this country make it through the insults, no Irish need apply, the injuries of Japanese internments. It's what do you do with those feelings? You're not defined by what happens to you, you're defined by how you choose to respond. So I tell people, anger, if you're not angry, let that fuel you. Well, what about the heartbreak that I feel? Well, I get emotional sometimes because I read a letter and something in it makes me remember somebody I know, or to feel the hurt of constituents begging for help, and it breaks my heart. But I tell you, if America hasn't broken your heart, you don't love her enough. Because there's so much heartbreak and fear and pain in a nation where people are seeing their economic hopes and dreams of maybe buying a home or having the money to help their kids with school or to meet their basic needs, where so many Americans are one flat tire, one $400 hit to their account, and they're suddenly doing payday loans or having to struggle to find a way through. There's so much heartbreak in this country. Great love means you make yourself vulnerable to having that heartbreak. But the heart's this powerful tool that even when it's broken, it still beats. And what about people that are afraid? I get afraid sometimes. I think about this legislation, if it goes through, what's going to happen in my state? I know the hospitals. I know the recipients. But you're telling me, look at our history. Is there anybody in American history that you revere that didn't face extraordinarily fear? Because you cannot have great courage without great fear. Fear is a necessary precondition to courage. And so you ask me, my friend, what can people do? I want to remind people, as I've said before on this floor, to remember the truth that I heard before I came here, that change does not come from Washington, it comes to Washington by the people who demand it. I said this earlier, do you think that we got suffrage in this country because a bunch of men on this Senate floor right here put their hands in and said, hey fellas, on the count of three, women get the right to vote, ready, 1, 2, 3, go. No, that's not how it happened. It happened because of Alice Paul. She was a young person from New Jersey. She broke with the course of human events. Alice Paul, one of my greatest heroes, you know what she did? She caused a heck of a lot of good trouble. Necessary trouble. She is the first American ever, young American in her early 20s, the first American ever to protest in front of the White House. She broke with the older, more mature suffrage organizations and went to the White House and did what she called a silent retreat, protest. She held up signs quoting President Woodrow Wilson's own words about freedom and equality and say, aren't they true for me? Like a great black woman would later say, ain't I a woman? Don't I deserve rights? You don't think she was afraid? Let me tell you how afraid she was. Hundreds came out to jeer her, blocking the street, and then they arrested her for obstructing public passage. And then what do you do with a strong, powerful woman? You say that she's crazy, and you throw her in an insane asylum. Before Gandhi sitting in jail before Gandhi, Alice Paul, this young American from New Jersey, goes on a hunger strike. And they don't honor her hunger strike. They shove tubes down her throat, crack eggs into the tube, force feeding her, and thank God for the First Amendment, which is under attack here in America. The freedom of the press, under attack here in America. Look at the dragging the journalist Jeffrey Goldberg right now for doing what? Getting the highest security officials in the land, just showing them the laws that they were breaking. A journalist covered what Alice Paul did. She gets out of jail because of public outrage. She goes back to protesting in front of the White House, and Woodrow Wilson, the President of the United States, finally comes out and joins her in supporting suffrage. You don't think she was afraid, angry, heartbroken, but she did something different. She chose a new and unusual pathway to show that this is not the America I believe in. The poetry of Langston Hughes. America never was America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be. The poetry of Langston Hughes. There's a dream in this land with its back against the wall. To save a dream for one, we must save the dream for all. It's what you do with those emotions that matters. Does it call you to greater service? Does it call you to greater sacrifice? Does it call you to greater love? And let me say one more thing. As we were speaking, I just wanted to bring this up. You know I love history. And this is one of my favorite letters, Alex, my colleague, Senator Padilla. It's one of my favorite letters in all of American history because an obscure, unknown American, obscure and unknown, would never have been known, writes a letter to a powerful, powerful man. This obscure American woman that nobody know or would have heard of, ever, if somebody didn't hear about her story and write a book. She would be gone like most of the great heroes in American history, that we don't know their names. It reminded me of the last healthcare debate when Donald Trump tried to take away the ACA, and how many amazing, heroic people who I don't remember their names, but rose up and say, no, 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 that got three of my colleagues, McCain, Murkowski, and Collins, to change their vote on this floor and stop healthcare being stripped away from 20 million Americans. Well, here is what I mean. It's not the powerful people with titles and celebrity and offices and billions of dollars that have ever shaped this country. What shapes this nation is hard-working, determined Americans who say, I'm going to redeem the dream of America. I'm going to heal the soul of this country. I'm going to demand that we do better, that we rise higher, that we make change happen. What can you do? That you ask if you're a young person? I love this letter. It's written by Frederick Douglass to an unknown person that would have never been heard of if it wasn't for this book. And he writes to his friend, I am glad to know that the story of your eventful life has been written by a kind lady, and the same is soon to be published. You ask for what you do not need from me, Frederick Douglass writes. You call upon me for a word of commendation. I need such words from you far more than you could need them from me. He says to this unknown woman, especially where your superior labors and devotion to the cause of the lately enslaved of our land are known as I at least know them. The difference between us is very marked, says the great Frederick Douglass, one of the most known people. He was the most photographed man, period, in the 1800s. The difference between us is very marked, Frederick Douglass says. Most that I have done and suffered in the service of our cause has been in public, and I have received much encouragement at every step of the way. You, on the other hand, he says to this woman, you, on the other hand, have labored in private. I have wrought in the day, you in the night. I have had the applause of the crowd and the satisfaction that comes of being approved by the multitude, while the most you have done has been witnessed by a few trembling, scared, and footsore bondsmen and women whom you have led out of the house of bondage, and whose heartfelt God bless you has been your only reward. The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and to heroism, accepting of John Brown of much encouragement, accepting of John Brown of sacred memory, I know of no one who has willingly encountered more perils and hardships to serve our enslaved people that you have. Much of what you have done would seem improbable to those who do not know you as I know you. It is to me a great pleasure and a great privilege to bear testimony for your character and your works, and to say to those to whom may come that I regard you in every way truthful and trustworthy. He gave his legitimacy to this book project, Frederick Douglass, to then an unknown woman who did the most heroic things. Her name was Harriet Tubman. How did we get here, America, to this privileged place? Well, we got here because of that incredible infrastructure project that this place didn't fund called the Underground Railroad, where black Americans and white Americans broke laws, did civil disobedience to stop slavery. How did we get here? We got here because young 20-somethings got upon a bridge named for a grand wizard of the KKK, named the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We got here because they marched. We got here because they were beaten. We got here because they bled, and I may know one or two of the people on that bridge. I may know one of the two of their names, but I am in this body because of them. How did we get here, America? We got here because of people whose names I don't know, who fought at Seneca Falls. How did we get here? Because of people whose names I don't know, who stood at Stonewall. We got here because of people's names I don't know, who were there at Selma. This is the answer to your question. This is an American moral moment. This is the question of where do we stand for health care? Where do we stand for Social Security? Where do we stand for VA benefits? Where do we stand for our American neighbor when the call and commandment of every faith in our land is to love your neighbor? What is the quality of our love, America? Now is the time to get angry, but let that anger fuel you. Now is your time to get scared for what's happening to your neighbors, and let that fear bring about your courage. Now is your time to stare at despair and say, you will not have the last word, because I'm going to stand up, and if at least I can give one person hope in this country, can I give? And so what do I want from my fellow Americans? Do better than me. Do better than we in this body. We are flawed and failed people. I see people showing up at our town halls yelling at us, Democrat and Republican, do more. How are you letting this happen? Well, I hate to tell you, we're doing all that I can think of. This is why I'm standing here, to try to give voice to those people. But what is more needed from now is less people sitting on the sidelines. Less people being witnesses of American history, and more people determined to make it, to make history, to call to the conscience of this nation, to say, I will not stand for another American to lose their health care for a billionaire. I will not stand for another veteran who's dedicated to stopping the suicide of other veterans to lose their job. I won't stand for the air quality in my community to be made worse because they're letting polluters pollute more. I won't stand for the collective assaults on the Constitution by a man who even the highest judge in our land, a Republican-appointed judge, said, stop threatening and bullying other branches of government. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. But we, the people, are powerful. We are strong. We have changed history. We have bent the arc of the moral universe. And now is that moral moment again. It's the moral moment again. God bless America. We need you now. God bless America. If you love her, if you love your neighbor, if you love this country, show your love. Stop them from doing what they're trying to do. For almost 20 hours, we have laid out what they're trying to do. 20 hours. I want to stand more, and I will, but I'm begging people, don't let this be another normal day in America. Please, God, don't let them take Medicaid away from 10, 20, 30, or 40 million Americans who desperately need it. Don't let them do it.